When we need to show agreement in writing or mark something as correct, we almost always use a check mark. But why a check mark? Its ancestor is believed to be the letter V from the Latin alphabet. Back in the Roman Empire, it was used as an abbreviation for the word veritas, meaning truth. Over time, the left stroke changed because of ink pens. When people started writing with them, the ink didn't flow right away, so the right side usually came out longer. Interestingly, there are several countries where the check mark actually has the opposite meaning. For example, in Sweden, Finland, and Japan, a check mark is placed next to a statement that is wrong or incorrect. The familiar vessel with a snake can often be seen in pharmacies and many medical institutions. This symbol is very ancient and carries a hidden meaning. In ancient Greece, the goddess of health was Hygeia. She was depicted as a woman feeding a snake from a bowl. In Greek society, the snake symbolized renewal and healing, since it sheds its skin and seems to be reborn. That is why the image of the snake with the bowl came to represent health and restoration. Many centuries later, the bowl and the snake became a symbol of medicine. By the way, the word hygiene actually comes from the name of the goddess Hygeia. Surprisingly, other medical symbols also go back to the same tradition. The staff with wings at the top, entwined by two snakes, is known as the caduceus. In fact, it was the staff of Hermes and originally had nothing to do with medicine, but later it was often confused with the true symbol of physicians, the rod of Asclepius, entwined by a single snake. It is this rod with the snake that appears inside the blue star, the symbol of emergency medical services in the United States. This star of life was created in the 1970s, and its 6 points represent the main functions of emergency care, from the call for help to delivering the patient to the hospital. All of these symbols are connected to ancient Greek ideas of health and healing, tracing back to the images of Hygeia and her father Asclepius. It's hard to imagine any social network without the familiar hashtag. But this symbol appeared long before Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. According to one legend, in Latin texts, it was used as a shorthand for the phrase cum Deo, which means with God. For centuries, doctors would write it at the end of medical prescriptions for their patients. Later, in the 20th century, in the United States, the symbol began to be used to mean number, a role it still keeps today. Everyone who's ever played cards knows the 8 of diamonds, but I'm sure almost no one has noticed a little secret. The red diamonds have slightly curved edges, which makes the white space between them form a perfect number 8. Hit the like button if you've never noticed this before. Now, whenever you see this card, you'll always spot the hidden 8. This two-finger gesture is known as victory or simply peace. There's a legend that it first appeared during the 100 Years' War between England and France in the 14th and 15th centuries. The ruthless French would cut off these two fingers of captured English archers, since they were the ones used to hold the arrow. That's why, after battles where the English were victorious, they would raise these two fingers as a symbol of triumph. Much later, in the 20th century, Winston Churchill actively used this gesture. Interestingly, in the UK, when you show the peace or number 2 sign with your fingers, you must turn the back of your hand toward the person. Because if your palm is facing you, the same two-finger gesture in Britain actually means shut up, get lost, or something along those lines. The power symbol can be found on almost any electronic device, but very few people know where it came from. About 70 years ago, engineers began using the binary system to label individual switches. 1 stood for on, and 0 meant off. Over time, this evolved into the symbol we know today, a circle for 0, with a line inside it representing 1. Next to barbershops, you can often see a strange sign with blue and red stripes. There's even an emoji of it on your phone. This symbol has a very interesting history. Until the 18th century, in Europe, barbers were not only cutting hair, but also performing medical procedures, minor surgeries, or even pulling teeth. However, some specialized. Those who only cut hair painted the pole outside their shop blue, while those who only performed surgical operations painted it red. It's not hard to guess that those who combined both practices painted the pole with both red and blue stripes. Today, of course, this sign is nothing more than decoration. To make sure your reader understands you are asking a question in writing, you need to place a question mark at the end of the sentence. But where did it come from? And why does it look the way it does? Its origin goes back to the Latin language. In Latin books, the word quaestio, meaning question, was placed at the end of interrogative sentences. To save space, it was shortened to just two letters, Q and O. Over the centuries, due to sloppy handwriting, the Q turned into a hook, and the O became the dot beneath it. Even if you don't play football, you definitely know what the ball for this popular game looks like. The most common design is made up of black and white hexagons. But why did football balls start being made this way? At the dawn of football's spread, balls were made in a single color, usually brown. But when television became a common thing, the ball design changed to black and white, because early TVs were also only black and white. This two-tone ball was much easier for viewers to see on screen. Over time, televisions became color, but the familiar design of the ball remained. And as for the hexagonal pattern, it allows the ball to take on a shape as close as possible to a perfect sphere. We've gotten so used to the stripes of a crosswalk on the road that we never really stop to wonder why pedestrian crossings are marked this way. In fact, this kind of marking only began to be widely used relatively recently, in the middle of the 20th century. Researchers analyzed accident data over many years and concluded that stripes on the road are the most noticeable for drivers. You've probably seen countless piggy banks with a slot for coins. But have you ever wondered why they're shaped like pigs and not some other animal? The story goes back centuries in England. People used to store coins in clay jars made from an orange-colored clay called pig. Over time, the word sounded just like pig, the animal. Eventually, craftsmen began shaping these money containers into little pigs as a playful pun. And that's how the piggy bank we all know today was born. We often use the familiar 100 emoji with two red lines underneath to show that we agree 100% with someone. But in fact, this symbol has a hidden meaning that people in Japan know very well, since Japan is the birthplace of emojis. In Japanese schools, 100 is the highest grade a teacher can give. It's common to see notebooks of Japanese students marked with a red 100 double underlined. Not every car owner knows what the little arrow next to the fuel pump icon on the dashboard means. That arrow can point either to the right or the left. Car manufacturers added it as a hint to show which side of the vehicle the gas tank is on, since it's different depending on the make and model. Of course, in your own car this trick might not be that useful, but with the rise of car-sharing services, or if you often drive different cars, it's a very handy detail to know. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss new uploads.